They might be self-aware.
Feasting on the Silicon Carnage, you are listening to They Might Be Self-Aware. I am Hunter Powers, joined, as always, by...
Very curious, Daniel Bishop. I want to know if that was another AI one or if you did that one, because it was the what con Carnage?
Silicon
Con Carnage. Honestly, really clever. Was that you or was that like ChatGPT?
I've explained this. It's a collaboration, man.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's a collaboration.
Yeah, the computer did your homework. Well, that was extremely clever.
Thank you.
Like a chili con carne, silicon con carnage. I'm going to say that one's a win. Some of them are. That one really is.
Well, something else that's a win, or at least you were hinting at this. Apparently, you've been playing with a new AI tool recently, a new productivity. Are you a productivity god now? Are the rumors true?
I've ascended beyond regular productivity
into
now it's PRO productivity.
Pro professional, yeah, sure.
I'm going toward all caps for the entire word, but I'm at least up to PRO.
Stop yelling.
I'm finding through more of these AI tools that are available, productivity gains that aren't just coding. Now, obviously, we've talked a lot about like the coding aspect because that has a very direct economic line that I think one can draw. And a lot of these models that have been put out there are good at it. But they can do other stuff too. And they're starting to do more other stuff as well. And I actually
like the waifus from last episode.
Yes, like the waifus.
I've had a few more conversations just for research for the show. I just want to be clear and just trying to,
Do you even talk to the panda one, or is it just kind of the other one?
I don't know. Just the Annie. Is that her name? Annie?
Well, hey, I've actually started misusing tools. And I don't mean in whatever way Hunter's doing between recording sessions. I mean that I took Claude Code, which is, believe it or not, it's Claude to help you make code. It's a tool that you can install that is even more than what I've talked about a bunch Klein on this, which is like a extension that you can put into a code base editor. VS Code is where I've got it installed. And there's a million iterations on that. We've talked about Windsurf and how they were going to be bought. Oops, now they're not going to be bought. Looks like Google's gobbling up some of the specific people instead. We'll talk about that later. The point is, Claude Code is way more hands-off, which I was not super keen on at first because it's way more super hands-off, where you just say like, here's a problem. Yeah, go nuts. And it'll just go off and do stuff. And I was not working on code. I was working on a creative project where I needed pages and pages of material. It was a setting for a role-playing game that I'm working on. And I had like an idea, and I actually went to just...
Dungeons and Dragons, or this is a separate thing that you're working on?
Well, it's not Dungeons and Dragons, it's Genesis, but it's basically Dungeons and Dragons. For those of you who have heard of D&D, it's like that, but very slightly different. Just a different like set of rules. And so I was making a setting for it. Like instead of, this is the space one, or this is the ye old fantasy, I'm doing kind of a low-tech Zootopia, or, Critters meets the big city kind of intersection. Mm-hmm. And I wrote up like a page or two of, here's my thoughts. And it was all super vague. Like, there's this, and I don't know, maybe there's this kind of thing. And it's definitely got this and definitely not got this. And like, I had the very vaguest nebula of, the interstellar cloud of what I thought might be the beginning of something. And I put it into just Claude. I went to Claude.ai. There's no extra cool tools, none of that. I go there and I say, hey, help me flesh this out. Sure, this is a great idea. They always, again, like to blow smoke up your rear. And so, this is a great idea. Here's a bunch of... And like, honestly, it absolutely nailed what I was looking for, because I gave it a bunch of context of the space I wanted to explore. And I said, yes, this, no, not that. This thing instead of this thing. Let's expand on that. I'm up to like 3, maybe 4 pages now. I take that, I open up VS Code, I plop it into a markdown file. Markdown being like just a text file with some extra little formatting that you can do to make headers
very nerdy
and whatnot. It's not that nerdy.
It's a little nerdy.
No, the thing I did is very nerdy. Markdown is not nerdy. It's the same as you hitting bold or whatever in Microsoft Word. It ain't that bad.
Okay.
So I've got my 4 pages. It's in one markdown file. And then I said, well, let's try Claude Code out because I'll try some sort of hands-off stuff and I'll just stop and check everything along the way. What Claude Code has going for it that things like Klein don't is this built-in ability to, on its own, decide if it feels it needs sub-agents, where you have like this main thread of the thing that you're having a conversation with.
Just because I'm completely lost, does this tie back to web browsers or this is something completely different?
I'm being extremely clear. What was your question?
Is this going to tie back to the web browser or this is like something completely different?
Getting there. I promise.
Okay. All right. So we're in cursor
We're
code.
in VS Code. I've got like one markdown file. I'm talking to Claude Code and I'm saying, look, this isn't code. It's just some text, but I want to explore more of this space. Read this. Make sure I'm being consistent across my document. Suggest the next 3 sections that I need to add. Expand this. Turn this one section into 5 separate files. And what I saw is it just started blossoming out into more files and longer versions of each of those files. And I'd stop it every now and then. I told it, ask me questions all the time. This is collaboration. This is not you doing it for me. And I had this incredible collaborative experience back and forth. Cut to like 10 or so hours later, not in one day, this is over the course of days, I had 100 pages of consistent material that included rules and example bad guys to fight and lore and like setting material and pre-made characters and whatever for this campaign setting, which not only did I have it in all of those different markdown files, I then took like a front end facing kind of, there's a site called GM Binder, and you can get like, here is how to make your files look like a real RPG book. Neat. I don't have the skill or the time to learn enough of the CSS and the HTML to like affect these changes. But you know who's really, really good at taking one set of code and converting it to look slightly like something else? That's right. Large language models, Hunter. And so I took this ton of data that I had, and I said, now make it into one file that's in this format and uses all of these little, here's how you make a table, and here's how you make like a note off to the side. And it did it. It didn't do it completely. I had to I was double checking, and this was a very collaborative process. Don't forget to bring this over. Oh, this ended up way shorter than these sections. Expand this. But it was spawning off little sub agents to be like, oh, I need to have an agent that is specifically knowledgeable about this section of the thing that we're putting together. And that was something that I found extremely fascinating because it was too big to realistically fit into just one big memory chunk. And so you have this overall thread that is like, I'm managing a to-do list, and it always made a to-do. It loves to-do lists. I'm going to do these 8 different things, and I'm going to spawn a sub-agent that's like specifically for that thing, or it's going to look up these 3 pieces of relevant information and then talk to all 3 of these sub-agents to be like, what do you think about it? What do you think about it? What do you think about it? To then collate their answers into what it actually wrote. Now, where am I going with all this?
This is all Claude Code doing
this is all Claude Code, a terrible misuse of this technology, but oh my God, it was truly, truly, truly incredible to see this happen because it was like watching a bunch of little things all working together with me interacting with just one primary agent.
And are you doing this in the terminal interface?
In a graphical user interface, but it was in the terminal of that. So frankly, it's just like a command line where it would spit out a bunch of text and be like, I just added these 3 sections, review them, let me know if you want any changes, and then we'll move on. Or, hey, I have 5 questions for you. What about each of these things? And it would just take that and it would store some information in one place and update its to-dos and keep working through the files. Okay. So that was really, really cool. Now, totally separate from that, while we were thinking about like the AI generative or not, the
so
general...
at this point, you have a 100-page, well-formatted story that goes along with this role-playing game that you can...
Right. It's setting material. It's pre-made bad guys that you can use for your encounters. It's lore. It's a bunch of rules specific to the RPG system that I'm using I had to make a lot of tweaks there, but it honestly did an incredible first pass. And it made all this in a very collaborative way and with very little time input from me.
I have a question before you move on. One of the things I struggle with is sometimes work on similar-ish projects, and you make this thing that's kind of incredible, but then I want to turn it into a repeatable process. And at that point, it just becomes, like a nightmare. And I imagine like there must be some way of capturing, like while I'm doing my work in a way so that I can easily repeat it. Do you have any way of easily repeating this, or like, no, I just kind of remember?
So Claude Code encourages you to have a claude.md markdown file where you basically give it instructions for that project. And you can have a claude.md file in every like subfolder that you have of whenever it's working in there, whether it be as its own little subagent or the main line that you're sort of working with, it will look up and do its best to respect whatever's been put in there. Now, take the whole thing that I did, and there's the claude.md file of like, this is the style set of guidelines. This is what you need to make sure that you're doing. Make sure to always have a subagent that looks at each of these 5 locations to make sure we're being consistent with like world building. And then I could go to each of those locations and say, for this location, make sure to keep this in mind. Make sure to keep this in mind. Make sure to check with this other agent to make sure you're being consistent with whatever. Now, instead of going down, just go up one from the top level where you say, you're going to make a tree structure, like different nodes as you go down, set up, whether it be this RPG setting type thing that I did, or you want to do it for a code base, or you want to do it for, writing up the outline and like chapter summaries. Like, let's say that you wanted to write a book, rather than saying AI write a book, you could have it, help you make sure that your characters are being consistent, help you make sure that your locations are being consistent. You could still have like the main book off in another file, but then have your like lore and your setting and your people and whatever in a bunch of individual files and say, okay, great. We're going to make a new lore Bible for this other book that I want to write. This other book that I want to write, because you'd have this claude.md of this is this repeatable set of patterns that we can do in this kind of space. And you could do it for books or code or, this other thing that I did, or frankly, whatever.
Okay. All right. I'm with you. You've got this polished 100-page lore, history, rules document for your game.
And then I took it and I slapped it into Notebook LM, and I got a 45-minute podcast about this setting that I just made with Claude. But, there was collaboration. Just like Hunter with our taglines at the beginning of the show, there was absolutely a lot of collaboration. And I made a very short version of it, but I also made a long one. And like, because you can do the normal length, which is like 10 to 15 minutes, a short one about 5. And apparently the long one will be up to like 45 or so minutes. And I listened to this whole podcast mostly as like a pass myself at what had been made to make sure that it was seeming consistent, that there was not anything that was like obviously off. And like, no, the vision that I had, and that granted did evolve with this back and forth, held true for the whole thing, which was really, really incredible.
I have a little pro tip for you and for our listeners out there. If you are generating very large documents, I like to generate deep research articles that are very, very long. 11 Labs has a free mobile app on iOS and Android where you can have Burt Reynolds read whatever text you want, you up to 2 hours a week for free. And so amazing. I frequently in the car listen to Burt Reynolds read my deep research articles, and he's really good at it. I mean, he's dead, Burt. But he's really good at it.
Thank you, the memory of Burt, the digitized, reanimated remains.
11 Labs mobile app. Check it out. If the podcasts are great, I love the podcast, but sometimes I just want to listen to the full thing. Don't abridge it. Don't summarize it. Yeah, just read it to me, and that's my go-to read to right now.
Very interesting. So I made this thing, and I'm very happy with it. And it was, I'm finally seeing this kind of promise of these little sub agents that will run off and go do their own task that frankly, I don't even see. I know it's doing it because it like references them a bunch as it's going. But this was the first like hands off. I'm not interacting with an AI that I see its output, and I'm okaying that one AI's output. I don't know why I hadn't managed to do that before now, but somehow I did. And I was like, I'm not going to say addicted to it, but I see the promise now of what if I have the thing that I'm doing and I make the an AI, go do something else while I do that. like a personal assistant, like a thing that's been a job for forever for real people of, I need someone to call and make me a reservation. I need to, get a vet appointment. I want you to book me a flight. I want to see, what the weather's going to be like for my upcoming trip, whatever any of that ends up being. Boy, it'd be really cool if something like that existed, because we've had the promise of, the hint of personal assistants for like forever. Didn't you say something about a browser earlier, Hunter?
Yeah, that's actually where I thought we were going with all this, but then we
got there.
Code terminals.
Something terminals.
But
so
yeah, there's been a whole bunch of AI browsers.
I use browsers.
Right, but there seems to be a trend of companies deciding that an opportunity has come to create the next version of the web browser. Chrome, and what's the standard version of Chrome that everyone... Chromium.
Right,
that's like vast majority of all web browsers
that everything's built on
are built on top of Chromium, which you can think of as being most of what is Google Chrome.
And most of the other browsers, including Microsoft's Edge these days. I think it's only, as far as the bigger, like major players are concerned, Firefox is the only non-Chromium one.
Safari. Safari uses its own web browser on the map.
I knew it was one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, so everyone seems to be creating the AI version of their browser with the belief that this will be the next great thing. Now, when we demoed it on the show a while ago, Operator came out. OpenAI.
You can use your browser just a little bit.
Yeah, there was a browser in the cloud, and you could ask it to do tasks for you. And it was just a giant pain in the tuchai. And that was a while ago.
I guess I didn't take Latin in high
Mr.
school, but
Linguist. But so now they're going like, I guess once it's not operating in the cloud. In this case, you are running a web browser locally, but the AI has the ability to take it over. I haven't played with any of these yet. You've played with one of them. Comet, is that right?
No.
Oh, you didn't play with any of them?
No. I've only read about them because I was very excited about Perplexity's Comet, and I read about it, and I said, I'm going to go sign up. And then I read a little bit farther down in the article, and it said, and it's only available for those on the, like, again, it's a $200, $300, whatever a month subscription, or those who get invited to the beta. And some people got press access. We're press. This is a podcast. I'm basically a journalist. I think I should have access to Comet and give it a review.
Did you play the They Might Be Self-Aware card? You may have heard of it.
Yeah, right. You may have heard of us because we might be. No, so what this person was saying, there's this one article, it's on Tech Radar about Perplexity's Comet is here, and after using it for 48 hours, I'm convinced AI web browsers are the future of the internet. All of that, it is just a web browser that also has a bunch of these tools. And I was alluding earlier to, like, you've got agents, they'll spin off and kind of do their own thing and come back and you're like just told, yep, it got done. There's a lot of interaction with the world that are chores that we have to do of, like, I need to email my healthcare provider and, like, make sure that my tests got sent to whatever, something. I don't know. There's a lot of things that can be done via email or text or even phone call. I know Google was, I don't think they're doing it anymore, but for a while was trying to demo out a, like, we'll call restaurants.
No, they still do it.
Like on the phone. Oh, they still do it?
Yeah, they still do it.
Yeah, like we'll call a restaurant to make a reservation for you. And so this is kind of the evolution of that. And
they've been expanding that program. They actually just this last week rolled out even more things where it's like this price checking service. So now in certain industries, and for example, auto repair. I
was going to say automotive is like an obvious case for that.
So if you want to know how much does it cost to get a new muffler, they will actually call the shop and get a quote for you and come back to you and tell you the price.
Amazing. It should just be available over an API, but given that it's not, I suppose calling and asking is the next best bet. So a browser, the thing that everyone's already using to interact with the internet, I think it is a very interesting idea to say, what if a lot of the things that you were going to do anyways, you could just have something else do for you? Now, check your email, I don't think is one of the best use cases for that, but it mentions like you could book flights or you could get a restaurant or you could have it do a little bit of research for you, just like deep research is something built into your OpenAIs and other platforms these days, you could say like, I was going to go on the internet and look up a bunch of dehumidifiers to try and figure out like the best one for me to buy for my house. Can you do some research for me and figure out what like, wow, that's the kind of thing that I end up wasting quite a few hours all the time on. I really like the idea of that.
But see, there's the part I don't understand. You already have deep research. I assume if you were going to buy a new dehumidifier, you would just go to one of your favorite deep research and say, here's the kind of criteria I'm looking for. Here's my rough price range. Go out and come back and recommend me the top 3.
It's the same thing that we were talking about last week of like, is there a future where you're going to have uncensored AI models that you just like have your own control over? And I said, it's the present. It's not the future. We can already do deep research type tasks with a half dozen different LLM providers out there. But what Perplexity is trying to do with Comet, and I think OpenAI is actually just about to announce probably them doing something along these lines as well, is just making it easier, making it more integrated. This is where like Microsoft, I think, kind of overstepped, where they just, we're going to put Cortana / Copilot / whatever, just more into, right, just into Windows in general. And you can't get away from it no matter how hard you try. And that made people very upset. I think, hey, there's a little thing that you can spin off to go do stuff for you in a web browser that you're going to be using anyways. That's way less friction for people. And it's less steps to get from, I have the desire to collate knowledge from different places, of open up web browser, go to ChatGPT, go to the deep research sub page, type in your whatever there. Instead, you can just be like, I haven't had access to the damn thing, so I don't know this is how it works. But maybe I just like search for dehumidifiers, and maybe a little clippy pops up and says like, looks like you want to know about dehumidifiers. Maybe it's clippy, maybe it's not. But I do think having the ability to just say like, here's this task, let me know when it's done. Whether it be research or even telling it after you do your research, let me know and then you go buy it. Now that sounds nice.
I don't know that I see a place for it, like a significant place for it in my life today. The majority of my web browsing with the browser is for consumption. I am reading the news. I am watching YouTube videos. I am, that's most of what it is. Reading random Reddit subreddits. It's consumption, and I don't see an immediate. I'm not going to ask. I have no interest in asking the AI to go read all these articles and come back with a summary for me. I am enjoying this process of consuming things. And indeed, when I do want the AI to consume something, for example, read the manual on this new programming technology so that I can leverage it, I'm already doing that, but I'm not doing it in a web browser. Just whatever tooling has the ability to say, here's where the documentation is, go read it. So now you're ramped up on it. Now, there are things that I like, well, what are tasks that I do? For example, I pay my mortgage every month via the web browser. I log into the bank, I click and I pay it. And it's like, well, I could automate that, but I could just set that to auto draft anyways. The reason that I'm doing it manually is because I just want like an ounce of control over that like very large sum of money coming out of my bank account, just so that if I needed to tweak it, I could. It keeps me honest a little bit. I don't want that to be automated, and I already could automate it. So like the things that I would want to be automated in a browser land that I don't already automate with things like deep research today. You gave the example of, okay, we're going to go and we're going to research those dehumidifiers, but take that last step and actually make the purchase so it shows up.
See, I like that idea because now, and granted, this is not Perplexity and Comet in a web browser, but I like the idea of being able to say, hey, device that's in my house, start doing some research on humidifiers or dehumidifiers or rehumidifiers, whichever that I happen to be interested in that day. The humidity is just never quite right. And let me know once you've sort of got your headspace together on what maybe the best one would be. And like, okay, what is the objectively best one? Well, I need one that does this many cubic feet. I need this one that's going to be inside friendly as opposed to outside friendly. I need one that's under X number of dollars. I need it to, maybe I really want American made or whatever, like a set of criteria is. Just like with writing code, I think these things do better when you give them constraints, when you give them context. And let's use a different task. And again, this doesn't need to be like through a web browser, though depending on if it's something that can be done there, maybe it is. Yeah. I need to make a vet appointment for my dog. Okay. and being able to say like, look, read my calendar. Sub-agent goes off, reads calendar. Read my calendar. Find me a like 3-hour block that's open for the next however the heck many weeks. And then just like get me a vet appointment for X, Y, or Z thing that my dog needs to do. Can I do that? Is that just a phone call? Is that me looking at my calendar while I'm talking to someone on the phone? Yes, obviously it's not that big of a thing. But something about me being an adult is like there's always 40 of that. There's so many just little, I just need 10 minutes of my time to go do this task that anybody could do. That's the kind of stuff that I think we're actually going to start seeing become more automated, especially because Perplexity is putting together their own like AI-powered browser. I think the promise, the hope there is a lot of these things have an online sign-up form. A lot of these things have, you know, if I'm going to research the best pasta primavera that I'm going to make, hey, I'll look up 50 different recipes, see the reviews. Okay, I'm noticing that this kind of addition tends to work better than this. You're going to need these sorts of tomatoes because anytime that you don't use it, the reviews come back way worse. You know, whatever that ends up being, research or do these little tasks where I can just click a few buttons on a website to do it. I do want to see those basically go away.
Those are tasks that I could agree. I would find value in that. So yeah, one example right now is I need to schedule the exterminator to come out and do like their spraying around the house. But I'm just like, I haven't got to it. I got to go find the number. I got to call someone. I got to look at my calendar. But yeah, AI should be able to do that today. But for me just saying, hey, AI, sometime next week, take a look at my calendar, get the exterminator out here and just, you know, put an invite on my calendar so I know when it is.
Yep.
Another one that I need right now is I need to find a drywall person to do some drywall repair. And I would love to be able to just say,
oh man,
hey AI, next week, I want to get 3 estimates, schedule them all before noon, look at my calendar, give me 3 people out here. And just once you've got it confirmed, throw it on my calendar and they'll come out and like they could coordinate all of that. And I just see my calendar.
Boy, that sounds nice.
It does. And they come out and
right.
like, okay.
Home repair type stuff, I think, is absolutely ripe for this, where you're like, I need 3 quotes for this thing. Find me reasonably well-rated people that are probably not going to run off with my money and hopefully show up on time and get them out here. And like, okay, great. I'll do research. I'll send off some emails, make 2 phone calls, whatever it ends up having to be. And your calendar just got updated with the people that I already booked for you.
Did we just start
oh my
a new
God,
company?
that sounds nice.
Did we just
wow,
start a new
that sounds
company?
Nice.
Can we raise $1 billion on this?
This is easily 10, 30, $100 billion.
And we're just giving it away for free. Free, folks.
Yep. Here.
That's what you get. That's what you get for listening to this.
Right here.
This show. Now, there's
here,
one
right
more
now.
thing that I think
and another thing
is super important about this browser stuff. And I don't think it's actually, so I think this is a, I don't know what the right term is. What they're telling us this is for is not what it's actually for. They're saying, hey, you're going to become so much more productive because you're going to be having conversations with your web browser, et cetera. I think the real thing that we need to solve
That's
here.
not how we sell it.
No,
that can't be it.
What we're actually doing is training the AI to use a web browser. We've talked about this path towards AGI and that it needs access to all these tools. And there are protocols like Model Context Protocol that allow AI to directly interface with the tools, but that requires each system to define its own custom interface and build software and release it and get it out there. When we already have this universal interface to the vast majority of companies out there, which is the web browser. That's how we can do, you can do almost anything on a web browser these days, or most things that you care about. And if we can just make the AI incredible at using a web browser, I think we get to AGI much faster than not going down that path.
Yeah. Granted, people are going to be giving it, guns and stuff too. But let's I'm going to be able to affect any change across anybody here, why don't we focus on getting the drudgery out the door first, personally.
I'm still thinking about the home repair AI. Because there are, just get on that, like there are services that kind of exist like this, like Angie's List. The problem with that is that Angie's List takes a giant premium, like a giant premium. They're going to add 30% onto the real price in order for them to do the organization for you, to find 3 people, to get them out there, to do it. They're really easy to work with. When I've worked with them, I've had good experiences, but it's that giant premium. And the promise of the AI here is that it gets rid of that premium. Like, I just want you. I want you to be Angie's List today and go out and find my 3 drywall people. Which another thing is like I don't even know like is drywall person, is that a job? What is it I'm supposed to look for?
Right. Sometimes you don't even know like what the name of the thing is.
Yeah,
I've got a rotting beam at the front of my house, and like,
who do I call?
Porch people? I don't.
People.
Yeah, right. I searched for porch people online, and then like, oh boy.
But when
I saw a truck driving around and said like not just patios. I'm like, wait, what else do you do besides patios? Do you do my thing that I need? And right, having something that you can take these sort of vague understandings of the problem that I have and be like, can you make my problem go away, please? And then it finds a bunch of people and it just reaches out to them and compares and contrasts and sets up a couple of like quotes. Yeah, that'd be really nice. And you're right, there are literally like multiple apps, Angie's List being one of them, where everyone's in their database and you can, we're going to find you 5 pros to whatever. Like, okay, cool. Skip completely over that and just reach right out to the people because it can find them and talk to them directly.
Yeah, it's a decentralized Angie's List.
The planet.
Well, I know what I'm doing the rest of the day. Is that what you said? It was Claude Code? I just go to claudecode.com and type it in. Decentralized.
Claude.code.com/Claude Code.
And then I'll have it in like 10 minutes and it'll just be beautiful. And I'll probably be retired by the next time we record an episode. But if I'm not retired.
Just on a beach.
Yeah.
Sold the company for $80 trillion.
And people wanted to know when the next episode comes out, Daniel, how would they find this secret information out?
If you have access to that Comet browser, I guess you can just ask it. But for everyone else, there's RSS feeds for like podcasts. We're just open up your podcast player. I know we're on Spotify. I bet a bunch of you are listening on Spotify or maybe Apple Podcasts or some other podcast.
It's way more listener. Apple Podcasts than Spotify.
What do you know?
I think we need to get the video on Spotify, by the way. I don't if there's someone out there that would tell me if the video is on Spotify, you'd watch it, I'll probably put it up there.
But in the meantime, he's not. You could, if you wanted to watch us, go on YouTube.
That's the thing.
If you wanted to see our shorts, and I'm wearing shorts today. If you want to see our shorts, and I don't mean those shorts, I mean small clips of us talking about things from these episodes, that's also on YouTube. It's also on TikTok. We're all over the place, is the idea. And the point is, you should listen to us and leave a comment and subscribe, and there's probably a little thumbs up icon somewhere. Hit that. Why not? Training the algorithm.
We look forward to your feedback. We look forward to you becoming a deeper part of this. We appreciate all of our listeners. We really do. So thank you for listening. And until next time, when we are back again for another episode of...
They might be self-aware.